I had just lost the man that was my built-in mentor, the man that would ultimately teach me how to acclimate into becoming a man. And just like Simba in the movie, I shied away from my father's death, the reality of my father's death, for a long time. And as a result, my masculinity suffered. Peace, and more blessings to all my guys out there, my ladies too, that may be watching this. Welcome or welcome back. I'm glad to have you here, and I'm also glad to be here because I got a great topic for y'all today, and that's the hero's journey. And before I get into exactly what that is, I need you to help me run this channel up. I am just now getting this YouTube journey started, but of course it is no channel without you, so I need your assistance. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. And for an extra little boost, leave me a comment letting me know what you thought about the topic, how it resonated with you, what I can improve on as far as my delivery, my speech, or anything else you want to chime in and add. But without further ado, let me jump right into it. So the hero's journey is essentially a framework that describes the path that any hero in a story takes as he develops from that nobody, zero, to the main character hero that we all know and love by the end. And the reason why I wanted to highlight this concept was because it very accurately describes the life of any man or the journey of any man that wants to become something in life, that wants to leave an impact, imprint on this world that we live in. Because all the time we hear about the guys that attain these high levels of success and create lives that they want to live. And with that, we hear a starting point where they were maybe homeless or completely broke or sick or whatever, but very, very seldom do we hear the actual points in between. And that's why I want to give you this framework to utilize in your own life to become more aware about how much you've grown up until this point and how much you can grow going forward, and exactly how you can be the most efficient in doing so. And the reason why I want to use the Lion King specifically as my example to illustrate that is because it's the perfect story of a boy going to not only a man, but also a king, a man with heavy responsibility, the type of man that every man is capable of becoming, but most men shy away from becoming. But this is where you're different, because I know you're here right now because you got a natural desire to expand, to become more than what you are, to become your ultimate self, which is infinite if you treat it as such. But to get to that infinite stage, you got to start somewhere. And this brings me to point one of the hero's journey, which is the ordinary world. This is where we meet the hero before he's the hero. He's normal. He's zero, pretty much. This is before he gets his powers, before he has that mindset shift to be who he's truly meant to be. This is where we meet Simba when he's just a little naive lion cub running around Pride Rock. He's right under the wing of his father, Mufasa, and Mufasa is teaching him some heavy lessons as it pertains to being a man and a king. And Simba, being so young, can't really grasp the full weight of what he's being taught. And he's also within the bounds of his kingdom, so he doesn't really see the real life application of these concepts either. And for us as men, this can look like if you're a teenager watching this, if you're still living with your parents, you're still in high school, you're still in those early stages of manhood. You hadn't really touched the real world yet. Could be in college, your early 20s. Just now starting to see what it is to be out here on your own, what's expected of you as a man. Or you could be my age, almost 30. And that may look a little different because you've already experienced the teenage years living with your parents and being under their thumb. You've experienced the freedom of being in college, your early 20s, making a little money, probably got your own place for the first time. And now you see the full circle of self-sufficiency, and you realize that nobody is coming to save you, so you must become your own savior. And the ordinary world may look for you like being comfortable where you are right now, even though you feel a certain inclination to be more. And that inclination that I'm talking about brings me to point two, which is the call to adventure. This is where the hero starts to get that yearning, that burning desire to expand himself and see more, do more, be more. And for Simba, this is represented with his curiosity of the elephant graveyard. His parents have told him time and time again the dangers of the elephant graveyard and that he's forbidden to go there, but it's something inside of him that keeps calling him to this place. And for us as men, all throughout our lives, this represents that rebellious nature that exists in us to go against what society tells us to do, whether it be in the form of general society with the advertising and marketing, whether it be our coaches, family, friends, whoever. The deep call to adventure along the hero's journey represents for us that deep down feeling that we have more potential. It's the spark that will ultimately grow into the fire that becomes our ultimate selves. But it's not all peachy. It's not this automatic incline, which is in point 3, because we do have a natural inclination on the opposite side also. And along the hero's journey, this is described as the refusal of the call. This is when the hero is reluctant or doubtful about taking that risk, taking that step out to becoming a bigger version of himself. This is where we see Simba, even though he's super curious and motivated to go and explore this dangerous place, the elephant graveyard, we still see some reluctance. We still see him holding back a little bit. He got his father in his ear, got his Uncle Scar. He got all these outside voices that's affecting how he wants to step forward and expand his spirit. And for us as men, this can look like us taking on the doubts and the fears of those around us and ultimately letting it paralyze us from moving towards the checkpoints we desire in life. And this brings me to one of my favorite quotes. It goes something to the effect of some men die in their 20s or 30s, but they're not buried until they're 70 or 80. And this point in the hero's journey, the refusal of the call, this is where the story stops for a lot of men because that refusal can grow also. Just like I talked about the call to adventure being the spark, think about that doubt just being a drop of water at the start that extinguishes the spark. And then over time, it grows and essentially floods the spirit of the man and keeps him stagnant forever. And for the men that get past this point in the journey, they typically have some assistance. They usually have somebody that sees them from an outside perspective, so they see a potential in that man that the man can't see himself. And that's where we get to point 4 along the hero's journey, which is the meeting with the mentor. And this is where we see the hero coming up on this supernatural being or super wise being in the story, super wise character that gives him a perspective that he doesn't have on his own, which then allows him to move past the doubts and fears of his own and those of others around him. In the early stages of Simba's story, we see this is Mufasa. Mufasa is the mentor. He's imparting these major life lessons as a man that he knows Simba will need as he grows. And that's what we see later in the movie. One of the main things that he taught him, remember who you are, came back to be a major motivating force for Simba when he was lost. And in the later stages of the story, we see Rafiki, the monkey, more the comic relief of the movie. But we see a character that's so lighthearted and wise that he pulls Simba out of this despair that he has as he struggles with himself about stepping into his true purpose. And for us as men, that's why it's important to be around men we want to be like, men that have already displayed themselves as successful men, not just from what they have, but who they are, how they're received by other people, the respect that they hold with other people, the respect that they show themselves. Meeting with the mentor is very important for you to become the hero in your own story, because it'll be moments as you go along this journey that you won't be able to see too far out in front of you. Life will get cloudy and your own understanding won't be enough. And this is where I encourage you to work hard on aligning with God and seeing what his will is in your life. And also look at the people that he's bringing into your life. And also ask him to bring people around you that can help guide you, that can help convey his word more clearly to you. Because just like I said, it's going to come a point in your life as a man where you're not going to know the next step to take. It's going to get cloudy and you're going to need some assistance. And that moment is illustrated in point 5 of the hero's journey, which is crossing the threshold. This is usually the point in the story where sometimes early, sometimes toward the middle of the story, that the hero experiences a tragedy or some jarring moment that requires him to take an internal journey to reframe how he views life, or take a literal journey where he has to escape danger to get away from whatever the threat is within the story. For Simba, this was the point where Mufasa was killed. Him being a cub, he didn't realize the reality of what had occurred. And he was instantly thrust into responsibility because he was the next to take over the throne, being the heir of Mufasa. Pain of losing his father and also this instant and monumental change was way too overwhelming for him, to the point that he ran away, along with Scar's deceptive claims that this tragedy was his fault. All of this at once, on top of little Simba, instantly threw him into an unfavorable version of his life. For me personally, I dealt with almost the exact same situation. When I was 9 going on 10, my father was killed in a car accident. And even though I cried and felt the pain of losing a parent at the time, I really didn't realize the weight of what had actually happened. The foundation that I talked about in the earlier part of the video in my life had just been swept right out from under my feet. I had just lost the man that was my built-in mentor, the man that would ultimately teach me how to acclimate into becoming a man. And just like Simba in the movie, I shied away from my father's death, the reality of my father's death, for a long time. And as a result, my masculinity suffered. I didn't accept the tragedy for what it was and start to build on top of it. And it's not an easy thing to do, but when we as men go through tragedy, we have to take it for its reality and then do the self-work necessary to repair that wound. Because if we don't, we leave ourselves vulnerable to what I want to talk about in point 6, which is the last point for this video. I appreciate your patience. But point 6 is tests, enemies, and allies. After Simba runs away, he runs into Timon and Pumbaa, who initially are very fearful of him because they know the reality of him. In a normal setting, he would be an enemy to them because they would be lunch or dinner for him. But as we look at their relationship deeper, as they become friends, we start to see the contrast between the masculine traits that Simba was taught by his father, Mufasa, and the carefree Hakuna Matata lifestyle of Timon and Pumbaa. Timon and Pumbaa are his friends on face value, but their mentality could be considered an enemy to his masculinity, because their carefree attitude, even though it's somewhat necessary as being a man, it can pull you away from the responsibility of your masculinity. And we see that contrast further highlighted when Simba runs into Nala, and she starts to explain what's going on in Pride Rock and how Simba needs to come back and save his family. And just like I was talking about earlier with the earlier point, the refusal of the call, Simba is right back in this same point, but now it's at a more developed stage. He knows deep down he has a responsibility to go back and eliminate Scar, who also highlights the perversion of masculinity, the power that comes with masculinity, how it can be perverted and turned into something evil. Simba is now in this moment where he has to decide whether he's going to answer the call to eliminate this threat, or if he's going to remain in this carefree lifestyle. And us as men, we might not have a movie type moment like this in our lives where we have to make a decision like that, but I will say, any of us men that want to be respected men, be real men in this world, this responsibility is overarching us right now as I speak, because we're now living in a society that wants to pervert masculinity itself and also every other aspect of life. They want to flip everything upside down. And the true target is the children, the impressionable minds in our world. And I know that's a little heavy, what I'm saying, but in reality, we all start out as children and we become adults. So it's going to be children behind us. We're going to have children of our own. And it's always going to be children in this world. But as sad as it is to say, it's enemies out there looking to devour those small, innocent spirits. So the only thing that stands in the way of that is us, the men that won't accept it. But even though I didn't want this to be too long, kind of stretched out, but we're going to end it right there. And we'll talk more in part 2 about the later half of the hero's journey and how it reflects in your life. But like I said in the beginning, if this video resonated with you, I want you to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and also comment. Let me know exactly what resonated with you. And remember that you have to be the hero in your own story. Nobody's coming to save you. If you're interested in getting my book, Him Not Them, How to Be the Man She Can't Resist and the Man They Can't Be, I put the link in the bio. And I also recently just put out an audiobook version as well. You'll be able to find that in the link as well. But you'll see all that below. And if you want to talk more one-on-one, shoot me an email right here, and I'll be sure to get back to you in a timely fashion. Stay G out there, fellas. Peace.
Yeah. Ain't even trying to be, I've been trying to get up out these streets, trying to make it out, but fuck it, who won't take it out? He went number 6.